This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Before we jump into Thunder, though, there's some sad news in professional wrestling, and it's been kind of overwhelming. As you and I are recording this, the news just came out last night, but we've lost Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper. He passed away at just 41 years old. Tony, the wrestling world has been shocked by this news. Most wrestling fans didn't know that John had been in a bit of a battle for the last few months in the Mayo Clinic. And even when I heard that, I just assumed he was going to kick out at 2.5, like we always hear about in pro wrestling. And unfortunately he didn't. And I didn't know him that well, but he was one of the first, one of the members of the active roster who listened to Bruce and I, and he followed me on Twitter and we started corresponding. And I remember once he asked Ashley, "Hey, can you help me get some of those shirts that Bruce and Conrad are selling?" And she thought it was hilarious that she had to reach out to me for merch. And, I got her some stuff, and then he thanked me and said, he couldn't wear it to shows or to TV because he didn't want to get heat, brother. And then we kept in touch anytime he was in Huntsville or I was in Rochester. And I had the pleasure of watching, SummerSlam 2015 in catering with his wife and kids. And they're just so delightful and such a great family man. And I'm sort of overwhelmed with the support from the wrestling community. I showed Megan last night as I scrolled through Instagram. I scrolled for 10 minutes and I didn't see a single post that wasn't about him. And it was the same message over and over. What a great guy. What a great family man. You got to know him pretty well over the last several months. What can you tell us about your time with Brody Lee?
First of all, he became, with us, one of our real leaders in the back. And he didn't lead by being noisy or talking. He led by example. People say this about when people pass away, people say this about, boy, he was such a great guy. But for Brody, it's the truth. It really, really is. And he and I really developed a very close bond when he won the AEW championship and I was in the ring interviewing him. He did the classic big guy bend down to my microphone. So when it was over, and the show was over, and in the back, he said, "How was the interview?" I said, "Well," I said, you made a mistake." And he said, "What?" I said, "You're so big and tall." I said, "Never bend down to the microphone." I said, "I will put the microphone up to your mouth. Stand up tall, stand up straight, stand up strong." He went, "That's great. That's great. Thank you for that." And so basically from that moment on, and of course, we didn't see much longer after that. From that moment on, he called me his mentor. And the only thing I really mentored him on was the microphone.
Right.
Because for a guy his size, my God, he could work. He could do a lot of stuff. And, unfortunately, the AEW, uncensored podcast that we do, the one we did with Brody, we did it a day before he got sick.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then we heard he had been airlifted to the Mayo Clinic, and Amanda, his wife, came and met with the entire group and told us how bad a shape he was in, and please don't say anything to anybody. So I think everybody did a great job of just, keeping it close to the vest, as the old cliche goes. And we all knew that it didn't look good, but we all were hoping that he would kick out. And then we had the day that he passed away, we received an email that we're going to have a company-wide Zoom call in 30 minutes. And I knew that if we're going to have a Zoom call that quickly, something was bad. Yeah. And so they told us about that. So I got to know his wife, Amanda. His son, Brody, has been backstage. And we keep him backstage with us now. We take care of him. And I do need to say this, and I'm going to write something about this and post it somewhere, maybe on ad-free shows. I think it'll be worth a read because I'm really going to pour my heart out about this, not only about Brody and his family, but about our company and about Mega Parek and Margaret Stavley and Tony Khan about how good they are and how much they have taken care of the family and how much they have just made Brodie's family a part of ours. And they did that because they care about people, but they also did that because of what type of person Brodie was. He was big, he was burly, and it was a hell of a character, man. They did some great stuff, man, with the Exalted One. And not only did he leave us too soon, he left us too soon as far as only getting to know him for just a short period of time. I know the people in the WWE knew him as Luke Harper, and I know he had a really good run there. Mm-hmm. Knew him a lot better than we did because of the time they had with him. But in the short period of time, we got to know him really well. It's a tragic story. It's a heartbreaking story because it's such a good person and a good dad, like you said.
I want to talk about what you guys did for the family in just a moment. So remind me to come back to that. But
okay,
I was always a fan of the persona he presented on TV. And of course, lots of people online would say, "Oh, he reminds me of Bruiser Brody," because he had the wild-eyed look and the crazy beard, and he was a tall guy, but his work was really something else. And the first time I really took a look at that for more than just, character presentation and surface, whatever, I'm hanging out with Arn Anderson one of the very first times, probably 2013, maybe 2014. I don't remember exactly, but somehow we're just talking about the current product. And usually when I was picking Arn's brain, I'm talking about old school stuff, 'cause that's what I grew up on. And he made it a point to say the guy to watch is Luke Harper. And I was sort of taken aback and was like, really? I expected him to rattle off a dozen other names, but he said, "Oh no, this guy's something special." And he said, "I watch wrestling differently than the way fans do. And I see this guy's house show matches. We might have 5 shows on a loop. He's working the same opponent every time, but every time it's a different match. And not a lot of guys do that, but didn't mean that he's overcomplicating it. Just the way he would put together his moves and combination of moves. He's one of the best we got. He has the most upside and the most in-ring wrestling talent you could ever ask for." He was just adamant. This guy is special. And moving forward, every time I watched one of his matches, I thought about what Arn said, and I'll be darned if he wasn't right. Every day it was something different. And I don't know, there's just, something special about him, but there was also something special about the story that I heard about the way you guys shared a pretty nice moment with Brodie's family, including his son recently, at TV. Can you share some of that?
Well, they had, knowing that Brodie was very sick and knowing it was a holiday time. And I guess knowing that for him to kick out, it was going to be, I don't want to say a miracle, but it was going to be very difficult for him to kick out. They had brought little Brodie to TV, who is just wrestling is his life. And he's 8 years old. He's great. He really is a great kid. And they made him a member of the Dark Order. They put a mask on him. He came out with a kendo stick. He beat up a lot of people. And this was, of course, a TV tape with nobody in the audience. They signed him to a contract, legitimately signed a contract. When he gets of age, he'll be with AEW. And they've taken care of him. And he follows guys around all the time in the back, and he becomes a part of us. And Amanda's back there, and it's funny because, not funny, but it's in a way funny. We when we do TV tapings now, we will have a live show or a tape show, Dynamite, and then we will have sometimes 13 dark matches.
Right.
So we're there till 2 a.m. sometimes. And I was sitting back there with her when dark was going on. She said, "You know what? I'm dead tired. I need to go back and get some sleep, but he just loves us so much. I'm just going to wait." And so she waits until it's all over with. and he gets involved with the guys and sets the gorilla position and comes out sometime with a mask on and does some crazy things. And it just shows you how the roster loved Brody and how we are family. And not only that, Mega, who is our lawyer and our HR person in charge of HR, and Margaret have just absolutely taken care of the family. Absolutely been with Amanda this entire time. And Tony Khan has taken care of him too. So when Brody was hired, we all said, man, that's a great hire.
Yep.
Because we knew he could work.
Yep.
But then when we got to know him, we thought, not only is this a great hire for talent-wise, it's a great hire because it's a great person backstage. It's tough, man. It was a tough day. It was a tough day when we got the news, and it still is. And I've been texting back and forth with some of my friends, close friends on the roster, and everybody is just really devastated. But again, there's no question. There's no, and this is why I get so angry when, there's trolls out there, I know, and they always troll us and troll me, but I don't mind it. But when they troll Tony Khan, it really pisses me off because I know how good of a person he is. And I mean, really pisses me off. So this is just, again, for me personally, just solidifies that I did make the right choice in life.
Yep.
Good company, good people, and lost one of the best, if not the nicest guy backstage.
Hey, I know you're, just taking up for our friend Tony, but he don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, troll away. Tony Khan don't care.
No, he doesn't care.
He believes in what he's doing, and his people believe in him, and that's all that matters. And man, God dang, I would have wished that it's just hard to imagine that this is real. 41 years old, man.
I know. 41 years old, and just how fragile life is. Got sick one day and did not bounce back.
Lord knows.
And 2 young kids.
This ain't about me at all, but I was telling Megan just last night, I had more people that I know personally die this year than any year of my life. Lost an uncle. I mean, just on and on. One of my very best friends, John, and then of course, Brody and, Pat Patterson.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, I never met him, but Jim Ross lost Danny Hodge too. It's just
right.
And you know what's bad too is I've lost family members around holidays, and they always think of that. And that's what sucks to me is maybe not right now, but a few years from now, Christmas will almost be like a trigger of sorts for people who lost a loved one around the holidays. And it's just, golly, it sucks, man. Especially 41, man.
I know there's nothing, you're right. It's going to be a trigger. Lois and I were having dinner last night when we got the call, and I did the Zoom call right there at the table at one of our favorite restaurants. And I told Lois, I said, every time I go to this restaurant now, that's what I'm going to think of.
Yeah.
So it's a tragedy. It's a horrible tragedy. But it's one of those things where you made the right move as far as hiring a good person. You're not going to find a guy like Brody Lee every day. You're really not. And
it's also a reminder to be good to one another and to appreciate how precious and fragile life is. I mean, it could literally be here today, gone tomorrow. I mean, you heard Tony say, we did that podcast with him, and then the next day he got sick. It's just, it shouldn't be that way. And I don't know.
It was, we did the podcast, and here's another little note too. We did the podcast, and of course, as you and I do, we talk before we record.
Mm-hmm.
And Brody and I had a great conversation going back and forth. And when the podcast was over, Cody sent me a text, and he said, I just heard from Brody, who really thinks you're just a great guy and really thinks that he really enjoys working with you and is really so appreciative of that little tip that you gave him about not bending down and standing straight up. And I said, well, Brodie's really a special guy. And that was right after the podcast. And then he got sick. And so our relationship was going to even be a lot closer. And this happened. Just terrible tragedy. And, just man, let's put this year behind us. Lordy, my God, you can't blame it on a year, but it's been a terrible year. And thank God for wrestling fans to be able to listen to us, and hopefully we can brighten their day, and maybe we can brighten our day here as well by watching another bad episode of Thunder. I don't know if that's the way to brighten your day or not, but
Tony, before we do that, and you and I don't talk about anything before we get on here. I know sometimes people think you and I work out different bits and, oh, well, you say this and then I'll say that, but that's just not the case. We just get on here and freestyle and let her rip, Tater Chip. And because we're friends, that's easy to do. And I'm going to just call a little bit of an audible here and throw something out there and just see how you feel about it. What do you think about, to sort of honor Brodie's name and his legacy as not only a wrestler, but a family man, if we try to come up with some sort of Brody Lee memorial scholarship, you and I, and we raise some funds here and we donate some of our podcast proceeds and we get some young person, a scholarship to a wrestling school where we pick up the tab?
That is a tremendous idea. I am all for that.
So
we're very fortunate to that. Thanks to our fans that we do bring in some money for our families. And I think part of that money should go to exactly what you're talking about.
Well, we're going to figure that out, but I think that'd be a good idea and we can, aim for young people who really have aspirations of being in the business, much like Brodie Jr. And of course he's got some inroads, but there's probably some kids out there who'd really like to do that one day, whose family can't afford to pay the $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is to get trained these days. Well, Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson can, and we'd be glad to sort of pay it forward in his honor. So we'll figure that out, but man, go watch some old Luke Harper matches. Go watch some old Brody Lee matches. Tony, there's a ladder match I'm going to send you a link to that he had in WWE that I think you could put up against anybody. It was him and Dolph Ziggler. You want to talk about a spectacle. And I know you weren't exactly watching in that era, but I think you'll get a kick out of this.
Okay.
So I'll
watch it today.
I'm going to send you a link to that, but
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.